Welcome back. Welcome back to Living in Mexico. I'm Ana Maria Salazar. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. I want to thank all of you who've been joining us throughout the years. It's always a pleasure and honor to share with you information, news, analysis about what's going on in Mexico, both in English and in Spanish. And boy, a lot is happening in Mexico right now. Frequently we try to address on this show security issues that affect not only Mexicans in general, but in particular, we focus on certain types of crimes that affect foreigners who live in Mexico and have made their home or who visit Mexico. I mean, it is still incredible when you look at the numbers. It's too bad I don't have those numbers in front of me right now. How many Americans, how many Europeans visit Mexico and their beautiful beaches? Well, this week, the U.S. Treasury may have the U.S. Treasury Department may have put a damper on this visit, or at least the idea of having property in Mexico. Let me explain. The U.S. Treasury is now sanctioning cartels that the U.S. considers terrorist groups for timeshare frauds in tourist hotspots. And they are warning, especially Americans, to be aware of this fraud using the timeshare system. This just happened this week. It's individuals linked to a very violent cartel have been sanctioned hundreds of millions of dollars for this timeshare fraud that has been targeting Americans in destinations such as Puerto Vallarta in Mexico, although apparently they are in different parts of the country. There is the Treasury Department is now warning current U.S. based owners of timeshares and those considering the purchase of Mexico-based timeshares to conduct appropriate due diligence. Officials warn that the scam often targets older Americans who can lose basically their life savings. The Treasury Department this week, the office, it's known the abbreviation is OFAC, the Treasury Department's Office of Foreign Assets Control, imposed sanctions on 4 Mexican individuals and 13 Mexican companies that are linked to these timeshare frauds that are led, and listen to this, by the cartel Jalisco Nuevo Generación. The individuals linked to the fraud are based either in or near Puerto Vallarta, but apparently they also have a presence in the United States. In order to talk to us about how this fraud works, the scam works. Joining us today is Roberto. He is an attorney in Mexico City, and he has clients who have been victims of this timeshare scam. Roberto, welcome to the show. Could you just put into context how this scam works? Welcome to Living in Mexico.
Thank you, Ana Maria. I'm glad we can speak. Basically, what's going on and what the result of what people have approached us is basically older Americans, retirees, that purchased properties in Puerto Vallarta. Mainly, the experience that we have had has been with Vidanta properties in Puerto Vallarta. Once they purchased them and they have used them for a couple of years, they receive a letter from a U.S.-based company, a real estate company in the U.S., on different companies, some from Oklahoma, some from Massachusetts, some from Texas, offering to purchase their timeshare at a very large price, substantially larger than the market. Some offer them for rent. They claim that there's going to be a golf tournament. They want to rent it. Sometimes they just offer them to outrightly purchase it. And again, they offer very high substantial price. Then they bring an escrow company, another American escrow company, different to the real estate company. The escrow company is headed by another person, and the escrow company says, look, we will be the escrow, we'll be the escrow agents. Very typically the way they handle sales of real estate in the U.S. They are approached by them. They bring a client who's generally a Mexican. They use different Mexican names. Some people are well known. Some people are not well known. The names are fake. and they say the Mexican client is going to buy it. Sometimes it's an American client, and they make an offer. Once the Americans say yes, they sign an agreement. Sale. Once the agreement is signed, the Mexican has to pay, or the purchasing party has to pay 10%, 20% of the value of the offer. The escrow company claims they have received the money. They say that they have established a trust in a Mexican bank. The cases that we've seen, they've used Bancomer and Santander. And they show the Americans a supposed trust account with their names on it, and a supposed account number with a deposit of, let's say, 300,000, $500,000, up to $2 million. Here's money. It's deposited in the X, Z, and Y account under your name in a trust account in Mexico City. The Americans then say, okay, fine. And they claim you need to pay expenses. You need to pay closure.
Notaries.
And
yeah.
Extracting money in smaller amounts, 20,000, 50,000, 30,000 out of expenses. And the escrow company pledges that the money's in their account. Hey, we're going to send the money to your account. Give me your U.S. account. They're going to send the money, and suddenly the money is supposedly detained by the Mexican Customs Office. And they bring out a paper in the Mexican, which is a false paper, as well as the bank statements they had given before, which again we have verified, and they don't exist. There's no trust agreement. They have never signed anything with a Mexican bank. They're all falsified documents. The next thing they present is a document by the Mexican Customs Office on letterhead of the Mexican Ministry of Finance and the Mexican Customs Office, and a forged signature under the name of the head of customs, claiming that they have been detained. The money has been withheld because they're violating the Mexican customs law in transfers of money. That doesn't exist. That doesn't apply. But they say, look, we've retained your money. In order to free your money, you have to pay a fine of $50,000 or $40,000 or X amount. The Americans pay the money, and the money is never freed. And then they claim they have violated. They have been investigated by the Mexican unit of money laundering, the UIF from the Ministry of Finance. Start getting the same type of letters signed by the head of the UIF. They even get telephone calls from somebody who claims he's the head of the UIF and asking for more money. And in short stacks, they start stealing money from them until the American gets tired and says no. Some people, they steal 100,000, some 50,000, and up to $1 million. To repeat it, scheme. Once they've done it once, they let some time go by, and then they repeat the scheme with another real estate company from another state, another escrow company, and all the money is deposited. The Americans deposit the money in Mexican accounts in the state of Jalisco.
Wow.
Account names are companies similar to the names of the Mexican government office. For instance, there's an account called Mexico Aduanas or Mexico Customs, or Mexican Aduanas. And it's an account, and they invent a real email address, which is also false. And it's normal that older people fall for these type of frauds.
But I was reading information about the extent of these frauds, and there was some reporting this week that based on FinCEN's analysis, which is the financial action task. It's basically the financial unit in the United States, which is the counterpart of the WEEF here in Mexico. But anyway, they said there's an analysis that was published that says that an average of $28,000 was the amount of these transactions in terms of fraud, that of people who think or they suspect that they've been scammed. And the FBI, I guess, the US FBI is already involved Roberto, and this, according to information that was published by, this is, I believe, Fox News, the FBI says approximately 6,000 US victims reported losing nearly $300 million between 2019 and 2023 to timeshares fraud schemes in Mexico. So I guess the question is, what happens to these victims? Is there any possibility of them recuperating their money?
To do that, look, I know for a fact that the FBI is into this. We
Hmm.
filed, our clients have filed criminal complaints with the FBI in the US. They
Hmm.
did that directly,
Hmm.
filed on their behalf. Also, criminal claims before the Mexican Attorney General's office, the FGR. And there's countless numbers of claims. The number does not surprise me, Ana Maria.
Hmm.
Cases where they take people's money over $1 million. In those cases no less than 150.
Hmm.
All these are older retired Americans.
Hmm.
That doesn't surprise me at all. Now answering your question about the possibility of recouping their money, it's very, very difficult because you would have to file a criminal complaint, which the majority of the people have done, and a civil lawsuit against the American companies.
Hmm.
The money has fallen into Mexican accounts.
It's already vanished. It's gone.
That my experience would tell me that money's gone. It's going to be
Hmm.
to find it, and those companies are bogus companies that just open accounts that come and go. So we also have to work with the Mexican banks, have to do a more thorough verification of the people who open these accounts. But that's
Hmm.
very difficult. And
Hmm.
all these accounts are in the state of Jalisco, in the surrounding areas of Guadalajara.
So that's where the link or the supposed link with this criminal organization known in Spanish as Jalisco Nueva Generación, which now the United States considers a terrorist organization. I mean, do you know if there's any links or what those links look like? Is this a
I,
way of money laundering? I mean, I'm trying to even understand. It's hard to even understand what the links are with these criminal organizations.
I have not seen any evidence about the cartels being involved with this. What I have seen is this is occurring in Vallarta, in Nuevo Vallarta, which state of Nayarit, and in
Hmm.
that's what I have seen. And my experience is with clients that have been taken a haircut for over $1 million. So it doesn't surprise me. Now it's a way of stealing money. It's a fraudulent operation that is very productive. But it's
Hmm.
very easy to falsify documents and print them on the internet and deceiving an older American couple.
Hmm.
And and it's not only happened to one; it's come to countless. So it's
Hmm.
very, very common.
Do you know, Roberto, if this is happening to Mexican citizens or citizens of other countries that have timeshares?
I have not seen it happen to Mexicans. Mexicans are basically in their home ground. And in Mexico, it's very difficult to do that because the process of purchasing a property or
Hmm.
property generally goes through a notary public, mainly a property.
Hmm.
Would say it would go through notary public, and the notary publics verify this, and they have public faith, so they could make the operation clean. In these cases, they work through escrow systems like they do in the States. So Mexicans do not use this. This is mainly targeted to Americans.
Why do you think, what is it about this scam that has become so popular? Is it because older Americans are looking to get rid of their timeshares, or they're trying to make a little bit more money off of it? I mean, what's behind this?
It's common, Ana Maria. There's a retiree, a couple of retirees that have invested, let's say $100,000, and then they get an offer to purchase for $1 million.
Wow.
And the offer comes from an American company and an American escrow agent. And the
Hmm.
American company, it's posted on the internet and it looks as a big company.
Hmm.
So it's an easy fraud to fall on it.
Hmm.
And Americans are credible people. They believe in these type of operations and they believe in their own institutions. So it's a credible presentation, and it's normal to fall for it.
Mhm. Well, Roberto Kiosellan, I really appreciate you joining us, and we'll be conversing, and I will look you up again in the next couple of weeks to see if anything has happened, because I imagine now that the Treasury Department has identified these organizations. See, what's interesting is that the people who are linked to this scam and companies who are linked to this scam, both here in Mexico and the United States, are now subject to OFAC sanctions, which has to do with these terrorist organization sanctions. So it'll be interesting to see what the U.S. Does and whether anybody ends up being at least arrested. It's a terrible situation, Roberto.
Oh, there's something here, Ana Maria, just to finish. My advice to Americans
Hmm.
is whenever they buy a property in Mexico, they have to consult an attorney.
Yeah.
And that is what they have not done. You call, and obviously they don't do it because they don't know local attorneys. But now it's very common to find a credible Mexico U.S. attorney. There's a ton
Hmm.
of attorneys here that are also U.S. attorneys and also have knowledge of these type of operations. So
Hmm.
if you talk to an attorney, you would avoid these type of things.
Roberto Kiosellan, an attorney who represents many of these Americans who've been scammed by these criminal organizations using this time-sharing scheme. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's always a pleasure, Ana Maria.
That was Roberto Kiosellan. We're going to go to a commercial break, but I'm Ana Maria Salazar, and you're listening and watching Living in Mexico.